Annyeonghaseyo.
Welcome to Seoul, South Korea. In today's video, we're going to talk about retirement in Seoul because why not?
For one, the weather is fantastic. It has all 4 seasons and the scenery is breathtaking.
Number 2, South Korea is very rich in history and culture, and Seoul is at the very heart of it.
Number 3, the transport system is really advanced. You can get a subway to anywhere you want, and also the trains within the intercities.
And finally, of course, the people, you know, your K-pop bands, your K-dramas, your zombie movies, they're all here. So if you're a fan of Seoul, stay tuned and listen on. Hi everyone, I'm Fran and he's John, and we're a corporate breakout couple. Now, if you're new to this channel, we retired young at age 40 years old in Singapore, and we're now actually based in Penang. And what we do is we like to travel all around the world doing cost of living and retirement videos just for you.
We will certainly appreciate it if you like this video and subscribe to our channel to join our YouTube family.
And so that you don't miss any of our videos.
First things first, I want to set some context here. In one of our previous videos, we covered extensively on the cost of living in Seoul. We went on the ground in our 2 weeks in Seoul to really capture all the different costs, whether it's about food, whether it's street food, restaurant food, cafe food. We have groceries in the different supermarkets. We have accommodation where you can stay in different parts of Seoul, the prime areas, the less prime areas, the ones where expats stays. We also have transport, and we cover a lot more on shopping and attractions as well. So that was a video specifically on the cost of living in Seoul. So do check that out. In today's video, we want to expound more on that, a continuation, more importantly, in the eyes of a foreign retiree in the beautiful city of Seoul.
Let's talk weather. So South Korea has 4 seasons, so Seoul is no exception. If you're a foreign retiree from Southeast Asia like me, then the winter and autumn months in Seoul will be a big treat for you. Of course, that is if you enjoy the cold. During the autumn season, Seoul is absolutely beautiful with the beautiful autumn colors, and the temperature can go as low as 1 degree Celsius. During winter time, it can actually be negative double-digit degrees. And I follow some TikTokers, right, and they're even joking that the Seoul winters can be as cold or even colder than Canadian winters. Of course, if you're a foreign retiree who doesn't like the bitter cold, well, you always have options, right? You don't even have to stay in Seoul for those seasons. You can always come to, for example, Southeast Asia. Do you know Penang is really hot during the January and February months? It is like 36 degrees Celsius. So if you enjoy that, come on over. During summer, I know a lot of foreign retirees love to be in Seoul because the temperatures can go all the way up to 30 degrees Celsius. So it's a little bit hot and dry, but this is what people like. The one thing that you need to factor in when you live in a 4-season country like South Korea is, of course, a bigger wardrobe cost. You need to have a budget for your clothing, for especially your winter times, for all your bulky winter wear, and make sure that you stay warm, as well as lighter items for summer months. Another thing to bear in mind is that your gas and electricity costs will be higher during the winter months. Let's talk about your living experience in Seoul. Firstly, there's a lot of nice neighborhoods that you can choose to live in. One of the neighborhoods that we like is actually Hongdae, which is near the Hongdae University, where it gets its name. And we love it because it's very vibrant, it's got an indie kind of scene, and you know, there's lots of local restaurants, clubs, as well as a very lively night scene. Another area that we absolutely love is Ik-seong-dong. So this is actually slightly east of Insadong, so don't confuse the two. And it's a great little neighborhood filled with cafes, restaurants, and little hanoks, right? It's really very cute and very Instagrammable as well. And we just love the very chill, cool vibes there. If you want to hang out where the locals hang out during the weekends, you can head on to Seongsu-dong. It was actually a shoe district that has now been converted into art cafes, restaurants, bars, and so many quaint little art exhibitions and street exhibitions all over. It is actually dubbed the Brooklyn of Seoul because it is a mixture of these old industrial vibes mixed together with the hipster cafe scene. The bonus is it is actually within walking distance to Seoul Forest Park, another place that we absolutely love. If you're living in Seoul, obviously you've got a lot of time to explore all the districts, and Jongno is actually one of our favorite districts. It's a very large area where a lot of palaces are and also the center of all the culture. So if you take a walk along the Gyeongbokgung Palace and between the Hanok village, you come across a lot of beautiful streets filled with cafes, arts and the museums, and the whole vibe is just a very cultural, kind of artsy vibe. Seoul isn't a city where someone would say it is a one-size-fits-all because every district will bring you a different flavor and a different experience. For example, Gangnam, right, is the most expensive district of all, and you can see that people, they dress nicer, they walk a little bit faster, and everything's very professional. Then you go to Dongdaemun, where there's a lot of wholesale, the markets are there, and people are more casual and laid back. Then, of course, you have Myeongdong, the tourist hub, right, where there's a lot of hustle and bustle because it's a shopping district. And then if you go to Incheon, which is a city bordering Seoul, then you've got the transportation hub where the airport is, and it's kind of like a little town by itself. So you've got all these different experiences and vibes going on in the whole city of Seoul itself. So it gives you a very different experience in each district.
Now, with all the beautiful neighborhoods that Fran has called out, you can always choose to stay in those neighborhoods, or you can stay somewhere else and then go and visit there. In our last cost of living video, we gave you a very comprehensive breakdown in the different districts and different rental costs, and that gives you a good feel on the ground what kind of cost fits your budget. Do check them out. I shared about the different apartment sizes last time, so I wanted to show you the apartment that both Fran and I stayed for 2 weeks in Seoul, and this one is called an office-tel. An office-tel is basically a mixed residential commercial building that is very near to commercial districts. In this case, we were actually opposite the Dongdaemun Design Plaza. If you look at the toilet, it's really small in Korea, and that's unfortunately a luxury that you cannot have in places like Korea and Japan. Because of the confined space, you actually have to bathe against the bathroom door.
Let's talk about food. Now, first of all, if you're thinking, oh, I can get by eating cheap but well in Seoul, well, unfortunately, that's not what Seoul is known for. You can't get a bowl of, let's say, wonton mee or a bowl of Hokkien mee or nasi lemak in Seoul, okay? It doesn't exist here. Of course, you can find food that's priced 4 to 5 USD, but that's actually in the convenience stores, which means it's all, packaged and instant food, so it's not so healthy. So your average cost per meal per person actually is around 7 to 8 US dollars. John and I ate very well in our 2-week stay in Seoul and our 1-week stay in Jeju. You can check those videos out in our channel. However, those foods that we ate did come at a higher cost. Now, that being said, of course, if you're a foreigner living in Seoul or in a different country, you want to immerse yourself in all the different offerings and food that's unique to that country, isn't it? Let me tell you a secret. John absolutely loves beef. So what he told me was, hey, we cannot leave Korea without trying its famous Hanwoo beef. So we travel a long way just to try this out.
We are in the largest meat market in Seoul. And why are we here? We are here for the Hanwoo beef, of course. Well, you can't really get Hanwoo beef outside of Korea much because the local demand is so strong. We are here for the freshest meats at the best prices. Just like the Japanese Wagyu beef, Korean's Hanwoo beef is rated at 1++ for their premium cut, just like this particular ribeye. And there's such a huge selection for us to choose from that we were spoiled for choice. What's really interesting and authentic about the Hanwoo beef experience at Majam Market is after you choose your cut of beef at the butchery stall, the staff actually brings you upstairs to one of the, Korean restaurants to have your feast immediately. And this is the opening ceremony. And we have 3 types of beef. One is the chuck flap tail, this one is the tenderloin, and this one is the ribeye. So we are going to eat in that order. So this is the chuck flap tail, which is apparently very popular and very good. Wow, I'm totally blown away by the Hanwoo beef. I would say it's a cross between the Japanese Wagyu where you have a heavy fat content melting in your mouth and yet it still retains certain level of beefiness, the chewiness, the texture like a USDA prime rib. And I realized that it actually goes best with Korean side dishes as well as Korean rice, an experience you must not miss. And oh yes, don't forget to pair it with soju and local beer. When one stays in Seoul, you only need the subway system to get everywhere. That's right, it's so well connected and so extensive that you don't need any other form of transportation. Of course, you can always take the Kakao ride-hailing or taxis that's available. Alternatively, you can go onto the public bus transport system, which is very efficient and comes at a very high frequency. If you want to know more about the cost and how you purchase the travel card and all that, do check out our last video. It's not just the internal transportation system within Seoul that's highly efficient and well connected. It's very well connected to the other cities as well, like Busan, which is a very popular seaside destination for many tourists and many locals as well. And you have options taking the high-speed rail like the KTX or the SRT, or taking the normal rail which is the ITX. For example, a train to Busan, yes, just like the zombie movie, takes you less than 3 hours on the high-speed rail KTX. What about traveling to the Hawaii of the East, the beautiful Jeju Island as the locals call it? There are multiple domestic flights flying every day between Seoul and Jeju from the different Korean airlines and you are really spoiled for choice as well. And it only takes you slightly more than an hour. Hey, guess what? Turns out that the budget that I built for the monthly living expenses for foreigner couple that's working and living in Seoul can be applicable to a retiree as well. Of course, this is costed for one person, to note that, based on the same similar cooking at home and eating out kind of food choices, having money for shopping, entertainment attractions, taking the subway and occasional Kakao ride-hailing, and also renting a property, a 2-bedroom apartment in a very prime location. So let's check it out. So for food, as I've simulated the last time, is about 25 USD a day for one person, very healthy. And then of course you have 1000 USD for the month, and for household item, this amount catered for transport 180 USD for one person, not too expensive. And for the accommodation, based on the rental cost that's shared between the couple, so for one person is 1165, and then you have healthcare, some money catered there. So the total expenses works out to be 3205 US dollars, similar to the same foreigner couple that I've simulated the last time for the retiree. If you have been following Fran and I for a while, you know that we always like to talk about the cost of living in Seoul and how expensive it can be for a local, and this is why. The South Korean monthly earnings stands at about 2,806 USD in October 2023, and that means the base price of items, for example the street food and the food court starting price, is actually very high for them, and this is one of the reasons why we always point this out. It's not cheap for South Korean to eat out at all. And naturally, for a foreigner couple who wants to retire in South Korea and live well and eat well enough, like a middle income person, 3,200 is a very realistic budget to justify that. Do note that this budget does not include any travel costs, whether it's outside of Seoul or outside of South Korea for that matter. There you have it. Retirement in Seoul is not as far-fetched as it seems. As a foreigner, you will surely fall in love with the people and the culture.
We hope we've painted you a pretty picture of Seoul, and now you can consider retiring here. And always remember this, retiring in a certain country is not the end of everything. You can always choose to retire in one country for a few years and then move on to the next country. Hey, the world is your oyster, isn't it?
We hope you have enjoyed this video. Do hit the like button and subscribe to our channel to join our YouTube family. See you soon!